It's time for the Money Puzzle Podcast. With good conversations and realistic solutions to the money puzzles we all face every day. I'm your host, financial advisor, chartered financial consultant, and president of EDGIN Insurance and Financial, Robert EDGIN. Now let's get this show started. Hi there, hello, and welcome to the Money Puzzle Podcast. I am Robert EDGIN, and I'll be your guide for the ride for the next few minutes. Each week, we look at a different piece of the money puzzle and practical ways to solve it so you can have the financial confidence you deserve and the future that you dream of. This is episode number 8, and today we are talking about different types of budgets and different ways to budget. Now, this is a follow-up to 2 weeks ago. A show that I did with my business pal from another gal, Brian Johnson. Thank you for joining me in the studio again today. So we're going to talk about 2 different ideas on how to budget today. Yep. We talked about the whys to budget today. This is the hows to budget. I promise you'll be smarter in about 15 minutes. You'll get some great ideas to improve your money puzzle. Brian, thank you for making the drive down. Anything new going on with you, exciting that we need to know?
New and exciting that we need to know. No, Finally the snow and the rain are gone.
That's right. It's finally summertime in Colorado.
Almost summertime.
Almost summer, but it's going to be 80 today, which is why today is casual day on the podcast. I dressed appropriately. For those watching us on video, Brian overdressed for casual day, but that's okay. You look very professional.
I look better than Rob does.
You look very good. So, okay. I'm excited to get in today's topic, but before we do, I do a lot of reading and research, and I come across different financial news headlines that catch my eye. So I thought we would take a minute to look at some news. All right, today's article comes from Yahoo Finance, and the headline reads, "The U.S. is the unhappiest it has ever been," which sounds depressing even before we get into the story. According to the 2019 World Happiness Report, Finland is still the happiest place on earth. Apparently, it's not Disneyland anymore, which is where I thought it was. The United States, though, dropped to number 19 in the happiness scale out of 156 countries. Last year, we ranked number 18, and 2017, we were number 14. So we're becoming unhappier.
It's getting worse.
Getting worse. Brian, before we get into the researchers' ideas on why that is, why do you think we have become the less happy than we were a year ago and a few years before that?
And I don't know. The only thing I could really think of is probably stress. And since this is a financial show, probably financial stress.
Well, let's talk about that. One of the reasons is an increase in obesity. And substance abuse. Okay, so that is a reason. How Americans spend their free time. And really what they were talking about there is the rise of digital media and the decline of face-to-face interactions.
Watching too much stinking TV.
Listening to too many podcasts.
I guess. Or, no, it's got to be something else.
That's right. Not the podcast. Absolutely not. That's right.
Because you listen to it in your car.
So, yeah, you're alone anyways.
Right.
Yeah. Our addictions are on the rise. Gambling, shopping, social media. So basically put down the phone, people, because that's where most people do their gambling, shopping, and social media.
Well, when you think about the addiction piece, it's financial. When you really think about it.
Explain that.
Well, what you're spending your money on. Gambling?
Okay.
Are you kidding me? Why are the hotels so big if the patron always wins?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, you got to ask that question, right?
Yeah, they're not enough profit.
Same thing if you're an alcoholic or drug addict. Where's all your resources going?
So that's a very good point. So we are gambling too much. We are shopping too much. Both of those things actually really are financial stresses or lead to financial stresses. So that's right. Pretty interesting article, I thought. I know that I'm pretty darn happy. What about you?
No, not at all.
All right. Well, you're ranked number 19.
That's why we do the show, because we're polar opposites.
So that's right. And you're happier when we're done.
I'm happier with you.
That's right. All right. So if you want to read that entire article, we do have a link to it in the show notes. But for now, that's it for the news. Let's get into today's hot topic. All right, Brian, we started talking about budgets a few weeks ago in episode 6, but we really didn't get into the different ways that you can budget. So 2 weeks ago was the why, this is the how.
Okay.
So before we get into it, I guess the point that I want to drive home today is that there's more than one way to budget. Just like there's more than one way to lose weight, lose dates. There's more than one way to lose dates. More than one way to lose weight. There's more than one way to reach your fitness goals. Brian, what do you think that the right way to budget is?
The most important question that you've asked all day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally.
The right way to budget is the way that works for you, the one that you will use over and over, and not just put it in the drawer and not look at it again for a year.
So any budget that you don't use, no matter how good the budget is, becomes
it's irrelevant. Yeah, it's irrelevant.
That's right. We happen to budget very different ways, you and I, but both of them work, and we both have a few different ideas on how to budget. So I thought I would throw a few budget ideas at you.
Okay.
Get your opinion. We could talk them out and see what the heck comes out.
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right. So the first budget I want to talk about is one that I use with business owners quite regularly, but it works with individuals as well. I call it the always profit, always prepared budget, or as the cool kids like to call it, the app budget.
The app budget.
The app budget.
Explain it to me.
Always profitable, always prepared. Okay. So basically, this is a twist or a take on the envelope system, which has you get paid and then get all of your money in cash and then take that cash and put it into separate envelopes. And when that envelope, which represents a category like groceries as an example, when you're out of cash, you quit buying things. Right?
You go hungry for a week.
You go hungry for a week. So this is similar to that with a few differences in it. For starters, I do agree that the best way to budget is to predetermine where your money is going to go.
Absolutely.
Okay. But instead of using cash and envelopes, which I think is a little bit outdated, I use checking accounts and savings accounts.
Okay.
So the whole principle behind it is all of your money goes into one checking account. I call that your revenue account, but that's your paycheck account. Okay. From there, as soon as you get that money, you immediately divide it into some other categories. For example, I've got a few that I'll share with you that I set up. I've got a wealth account. Okay, that gets 5%. Now, that's not my retirement fund. That's money that I use for opportunities. Okay. I've got an ifs and ops account, which stands for what ifs and awesome opportunities. Basically, this is my emergency fund, and that gets 5% goes into that. I have a family fun account. This is kind of for my big vacations and purchases and things to do with my family. That gets 5%. Okay. I have a tithing account. Right? That gets 10%. So the whole goal is to set up these different accounts and predetermine where the money's going to go.
So are you using all savings accounts, one checking account, or are you using all checking accounts?
I'm using primarily savings accounts.
Okay.
Because the majority of these things, other than my expense account, which is on the business side, it would be like my operating account. Right. But we've got that in our personal lives, right? That's the only one where we're writing checks on a regular basis.
Okay.
All of the other accounts, and this is what makes it so powerful. All of the other accounts I don't look at, I don't use or do anything with them for about 89 days out of every 90 days in a quarter. And then I look back over the previous quarter and find out, here's what I've got in this account, and then I can spend accordingly. But you could do that every 30 days. Sure. Right? Or 60 days. So that's my first idea on budgeting. Give me your thoughts on if you think that works or it doesn't and why.
Well, it could work for the people that don't want or have the time to spend a lot of time on that budget.
Okay.
Right. The budget that I use, I spend probably 30 minutes a week, maybe, doing it. When I get paid, I spend a bit more time on it.
Okay.
I do use one savings account, but I break it down into categories. So I have, in that one savings account on a piece of paper, I have our vacation. Our vacation fund. I have for purchasing a new car fund, for remodeling the house. So I just use one savings account, but just break it down into categories. And then when I need money out of that account, I just transfer, obviously, money out of the savings account into the checking account, and it just minus it out on the piece of paper, instead of trying to manage multiple savings accounts.
So you're still, though, predetermining what category gets what amount.
Absolutely.
And I think that is, to me, there's two pieces of magic on why this type of budgeting works. That is number one. It's broken down into categories. So when I reach the limit on that category, that's when you're supposed to stop spending
Sure.
in that category. Now, in your way, you kind of have to have more discipline because the money is actually in there.
Well, it is a savings account, so you still have to transfer before you can spend it.
So, okay.
So, yes, there's a little bit more discipline, but not a lot.
Okay. The other piece of magic that I like with the app budget is it takes advantage of a behavioral science law called Parkinson's law.
Yeah.
Not the same as Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's law says that our income, or excuse me, our lifestyle and our expenses rise to meet the income available for it.
Right.
So I have less discipline than you. So when I see that I have all this money sitting in the account, then your brain tells you, and Parkinson's law reinforces it, I have X number of dollars in this account to use. I'm going to find a way to use it all. So by me breaking it up into different accounts, I still have Parkinson's law and I still spend what's in the account, but it keeps me from going over the amount in that account.
Okay, granted. I mean, I understand it. My mind works similar to that. But yes, if you have $10,000 sitting in the savings account, you have it broken out into categories, but you're wanting to, I don't know, do something expensive. I don't know, go to Hawaii for a week or something. You may end up, as you said, spending more than you otherwise would if you had one account with only $3,000 in it. Right.
And the other thing that I like about this style of budgeting is, let's say I do want to do something frivolous or silly. I know you might find this hard to believe, but I consider myself a little bit of a fashion guy. I like to buy nice clothes, and I like to buy expensive shoes. So, but I don't want that affecting my overall lifestyle and budget.
Sure.
But I know that if I've got my categories set up, and if this month I can't afford those shoes because it's not in that category.
It's not in the shoe account?
It's not in the shoe account.
Okay.
Then I know if I wait till next month, the money's there, then I don't feel bad about spending it because that account is for those things.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I always feel bad about spending money, no matter what.
That's why
I do. That's why I drive how old's my car now? 12 years old?
It's slightly older.
That's why I do.
All right, so that's one budgeting method. Let me run one more by you. It's called the 50-30-20 budget.
Oh, yeah, I know this one.
Yep, this one, this was actually invented back in 2005. It was promoted in a book called All Your Worth. It was written by Harvard bankruptcy expert Elizabeth Warren, who happens to be the senator of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, this is not a political show.
It is not.
So we are looking at it from a financial only standpoint. But this is basically what it says. Out of every paycheck you get, you should spend 50% on your needs, 30% on your wants, and then 20% should be saved. Now, the 20% savings, we'll start with that, also covers your retirement accounts at work, your emergency fund, and paying off debts like credit cards and student loans. She groups all of those things into that savings category. So
it's kind of hard to look at debt as a savings category, but okay.
Right, and I kind of agree with that. I mean, this is a very simple budget, but I agree. It's like, is that really saving? If you're right, it is paying down debt. That's important, but that's not saving. 30% goes into your wants. So things like eating out, clothing,
expensive shoes.
Yeah, shopping, hobbies, expensive shoes. That's right. But to me, 30% on doing your hobbies and your fun things.
That's a lot.
I agree. That seems like a lot.
If you had a net, look at the average income in Denver. It's about $75,000 roughly in Denver. Could you imagine spending $2,400 on every month on fun stuff?
I could imagine doing it. I think it would be fun.
But I think it's crazy.
I think it's crazy as well. But that's the number, 30% for things like eating out, shopping, and hobbies. So I will say this is probably a very fun way to budget.
Sure.
And then 50% is for your food, clothing, shelter, car, insurance, utilities, all of those kinds of things.
And that seems kind of low to me, too, because when you look at housing, you should spend about 25% of your income on housing.
Okay.
That only leaves 25% to meet your other bills. Really, that's not a lot. So just use $10,000 as an example. That's $5,000. The average house in Denver is over $500,000 now. That's going to take up more than half. of that 5,000?
So I use 55% when I look. So in the app budget, I use 55% going towards expenses. So to me, it's not all that far off compared to the way that I budget. But I don't like that. It's it's this one big category,
right?
50% that goes towards your food, clothing, shelter, all of your necessities, all of those kinds of things. Sure. To me, it's a little bit harder to control that way.
Yeah, I mean, you could also do it kind of like the app, right? You could have the 3 accounts that you spend out of.
You could, but we would just call that the app budget.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I think it makes more sense. In fact, to me, I love the simplicity of the 50-30-20, but what worries me is the actual follow through on it. Because it's very easy to say, oh yeah, if it fits in this 50% category as my needs, that's great. And if it doesn't, I need to adjust my needs. But the act of following through on such some general ideas and rules, to me, gets a little bit hard to follow.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Because even at 20%, I mean, think about most people's debt these days. 20%, let's just say 10 grand again, $2,000. That's, I don't know. It doesn't seem right. Spending on debt and then trying to save the rest. It doesn't seem
well. And how do you break that down? Right. Should it be 10% for debts and 10% for retirements? Also, that's got to be your emergency reserves in that 20%. Right. So I do think it's a simple idea, but I don't think it really works as well.
No, I don't think so either. Especially with school loans these days.
There are a bunch of those. We'll do a show on school loans, on student loans. So those are 2 different ways to budget. But the truth is there are a lot of ways to budget. And again, Brian, the best budget to use is
the one that you will use.
The one that you will use
consistently, all the time.
That's right.
Weekly, monthly, whatever it is, you have to use it all the time.
And you could do it with an Excel spreadsheet or a pen and paper. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated. But the bottom line is, if you know what you're spending and you know what categories you're spending in and you can control it, then you can make your money work harder for you than you are working for your money.
Absolutely.
So, okay.
That's the bottom line. You got to spend less than you actually make.
We could have just done this whole episode in one sentence.
Yeah, why not?
You have to spend less.
Can we start over?
So
let's start over.
It's too late. It's too late. It's over. In fact, that wraps it up. Unless you've got any final thoughts, we'll close down the whole budget topic.
Sounds good.
All right, good to go. So, before we shut it down, a couple of things. If you've got a question for us, you can email us at questions@yourmoneypuzzle.com. You can also get our social media links from the show notes and find us there. Also, please, if you find any value in it, the show, give us a rating on whatever podcast app you are using.
Okay.
We like 5 stars, but give us the rating you think we deserve. So in a review, and please share us with your friends. So that's it for today. Until next week, please be safe, have a little fun, and go out there and do something to improve your money puzzle. You'll be glad you did, and I'll see you next week.
Registered representative of and securities offered through Securities Management and Research, Inc., SM&R. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through BFC Planning, Inc. EDGIN Insurance and Financial Services, Johnson Financial Services, SM&R, American National Family of Companies, and BFC Planning are independent entities. There are risks involved with investing which may include market fluctuation and possible loss of principal value. Particular investments may not be suitable for certain situations. Carefully consider the risks and possible consequences involved prior to making an investment decision. Our firm does not provide legal or tax advice. Be sure to consult with your own legal and tax advisors before taking any action that may have tax implications.